The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
Okay, let's go.
Having a complete podcast studio inside your house is actually pretty dangerous because I think I'm going to get addicted to doing this. Anyway, this is Ray DoustdarWelcome, and this is the first episode of The 712. And The 712 is going to be me talking about things that are current in the news and happening and time sensitive. And that's why this episode is actually getting released before our maiden episode, which was scheduled to get released first, but now we're going to release that next because I had to get on and talk about this Republican debate, which was just a mess. After this, we will be launching the maiden episode. I don't know why I keep calling it a maiden episode, but the initial episode, I've got the Titanic on my mind too much. Anyway, let's get into this. This initial episode is going to focus on the Republican debate, the first Republican debate, which had all the candidates except Donald Trump on stage. And after watching this, I'm going to say something that's going to sound incredibly crazy, but I think they all should literally drop out and all throw their support behind Donald Trump, because that is the only way the Republicans stand a chance in this upcoming election. Seriously, hear me out on this, and if you're a Republican, give it some real thought. If you're a Democrat, you're probably laughing right now. But I'm telling you, there's a method to my madness. I also thought it was completely dysfunctional for Trump to do a separate interview with Tucker Carlson tonight, literally going up against this debate of the Republicans. It just shows, honestly, a complete lack of focus and incredible division among the party. And with a division like this, I honestly don't see how they think they stand a chance. If I was the head of the Republican Party, again, this is going to sound a little bit outrageous, and I don't even know if legally it can be done, but I'm sure it can. But everyone should drop out, and they should make Trump the candidate, because what's going to happen? They're going to indict the only candidate the Republicans are putting forward? I mean, seriously, think about it. Talk about disarming your enemy. That, to me, would be an incredible way to do it. Seriously, I don't know if this is a hot take or what, but can you imagine if he is the only Republican candidate and then the DOJ or the current administration is going to try and stop that? I mean, that's insane. There would literally be potentially then no election. I hate to say it, but America would look like a complete laughingstock. But this is a move. This is a serious power play. This is a serious chess move that they should do. All these guys should drop out and they should say, hey, we are unifying under Trump, and that's it. Anyway, if that ends up happening, you can say you heard it here first on Deep Shallow Dive, the 712. Okay, that was my hot take, but I also want to talk about the candidates. Might as well do that as well. Okay, let's talk about the candidates. I'm going to start with former Vice President Mike Pence. I honestly thought Pence would do much better tonight because he is a pretty polished politician. And in the 2020 debates where he debated Kamala Harris, the guy looked like he was running for president in 2020. So I thought he would do a lot better. I think he let Vivek Ramaswamy live inside his head rent-free tonight. He engaged in way too much banter with him. And to be honest, I think Pence did himself a complete disservice tonight and came off just a lot less polished than his experience would let on. He had already dug himself a deep hole with an interview with Tucker Carlson. I think it was on Blaze TV, where he talked about how the United States wasn't his problem, but Ukraine was. That thing went viral. And then with all the stuff from January 6th, I think Pence is just done. He's going to be like Ice Cube in the movie Friday. He got fired on his day off. My biggest disappointment, and I'm going to try to get through this without laughing, is that a fly didn't land on his head, and he conducted the rest of the debate with a fly on his head. You remember that? Do you remember that? I mean, dude had a fly on his head in 2020 debate for like 2 hours. He was like Iceman in Top Gun. Dude was cold as ice. Okay, next up is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. To be honest with you, I was not expecting much from him tonight. mainly based on the way he's been running his campaign, which I think has been terrible. But I thought he did okay. Again, nothing star-studded, but I also did think he went after some key issues and gave some good answers to a few different things. But I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I think the smartest move for DeSantis would be to drop out, patch things up with Trump, and say for the good of the party and the good of the country, he's going to become VP. The guy's only 44 years old or 45 years old, and so you'd be VP for 4 years, and then you're setting yourself up for an 8-year run in the White House. That, to me, is the wisest move for this guy. Next up is Nikki Haley. Honestly, I'm not going to spend too much time on her because I'm just not a fan. I think she is a warmonger. I think she is part of the military-industrial complex, which, by the way, we will do a major deep shallow dive into. And I think that her support of Ukraine is just outrageous. She absolutely, to me, is what the Republican Party needs to get away from, and I think that she did herself no favors tonight. Next up is Florida Senator Tim Scott. To be honest with you, I really like Tim Scott. I think he's an honorable guy. I've really liked the way he's handled himself the past couple years. But again, tonight, he did all right. He didn't do bad. I honestly didn't like the way he closed with guiding people to his website and then asking for donations. I know that's something you probably need to do, but for some reason, I think people know they can do that anyway. So I think that just didn't come off the right way with me, and I don't think he needed to do that. Next up is former Governor Chris Christie. Again, I'm just not a fan of this guy, and I don't think he belongs in the presidential race. I definitely do not feel he's presidential by any stretch of the imagination. And I think all you need to know about this guy is if you go watch the YouTube video of when he went over to Ukraine and met with Zelensky. Again, he falls under the Nikki Haley banner. These guys are military-industrial complex people. They are absolutely bought and paid for, like Vivek said. And I think these guys absolutely have their own agendas. All right, speaking of Vivek Ramaswamy, honestly, I like this guy. I do. I think he is a breath of fresh air. I am very impressed at the fact that he's only 38 years old, and I think he does tackle tough issues. I think he does talk about things that no one else talks about. I think he hurt himself tonight with the climate change hoax thing. Regardless of what I think about that, I just don't think that came off the right way for him. But I will give him credit. He stood his ground. I thought he was by far the most honest of everybody, and that makes sense because he's not a politician. Now let's see if that works for him or against him. Doug Burgum, honestly, I'm going to quote Russell Westbrook. Next question. And last but not least, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson. Again, I'm just going to quote Russell Westbrook. Next question. I wanted to end with talking about the elephant that wasn't in the room. That was actually pretty funny by Brett Baer. But I think it was incredibly bad form for Trump to do what he did tonight. And to be honest, for Tucker Carlson to take that interview. I think that they're both wrong in doing that. They should have done it at another time. Why would you go up against your own party's debate? To me, that's incredibly immature. I thought that was bad form on their part, and I think they did themselves a disservice by doing that. Maybe not with the voters, but overall, definitely with just the concept of integrity. Good golly, Miss Molly. Politics are dirty. They're really, really dirty. Well, there you have it, folks. That is the inaugural episode of the 712. And I'm going to try and do these under 10 minutes. So that way you can listen to them and get on with your day or get on with your evening, depending on when you're listening to them. Thanks again for listening. More deep, shallow dives to come and more 712s to come. And remember to always call a spade, which honestly is exactly what I just tried to do. All right, that's it. Ray D out.
This episode was brought to you by Boost Liquid Vitamins. Wake up, take your Boost, start your day. Drink your vitamins, build your immune system with Boost. Available on Boost.com.